Come on. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game preview ahead of our opening Premier League fixture against Tottenham Hotspur on Sunday. It literally feels like only 3 or 4 weeks ago we played the last game of last season, and it pretty much was. It's been a very, very quick turnaround. Pre-season was very, very short. The Blues are back in action in the Premier League this Sunday, starting off with Tottenham Hotspur. Joined by Tom, otherwise known as T-Logic, of course, today to talk about the game and talk about our feelings ahead of it as well. Just overall then, Tom, obviously Everton have made couple of signings since we last spoke, bringing in Alan, James Rodriguez and Abdoulaye Doucouré, filling in that midfield positions that, you know, massively needed addressing and needed improving this summer. How are you and how confident are you feeling going into this season as a whole, especially with those three players, knowing that there could be some more on the way in?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. I think what it is with Ancelotti, I think he's just filled holes and he's seen what's needed to be done, because we all seen it. It stuck out like a sore thumb, didn't it, last year, that we needed a midfield that was mobile. Yeah. So I'm happy that the club has gone out and just basically took what Ancelotti's advice there, because he's got two players in that he's well known for. He well knows, and with Doucouré, the club's been chasing Doucouré for the last year or so, haven't they? So yeah, I'm happy with they've actually done business and actually filled in what with the fan base as well as seen. Yeah. So yeah, so far so good. I mean, obviously they need, in my opinion, a right back. Yeah. I don't think they will. I'm not too sure whether they will, because it'd be a bit strange if they had three at the club.
Yeah, especially with Kenny today being given number 2.
Well, exactly. And also Ancelotti coming out in the press conference, which was very telling, that he said he trusts him. Yeah. So that's a big thing for me. But maybe like a right winger and see what happens with Moise Kean, maybe, and try and get for a striker. But if you started with the squads that it is now and left it, then yeah, I'd be happy with it. I don't think there can be much more done in the sense of improving it a lot more best than what it is.
Yeah. No, I agree. So in terms of overall expectation for the season, then obviously last season was again another roller coaster one. Started with Marco Silva, become quite apparent that Marco Silva wasn't going to lead this team. Carlo Ancelotti coming in halfway through the season, and as much as we were improving and as much as the results were there, we all sort of accepted the fact that it wasn't going to be a quick fix and that he needed his own transfer window and he needed to bring his own players in. This obviously the first full season with Carlo Ancelotti as Everton manager. What's your expectations going into it then? Do you think we should be pushing for a European place? Do you think we can push for a European place with this current squad?
I think there's got to be some realism still this year. I think, yeah, it is great seeing James Rodriguez, Alan and Doucouré coming in the club, but there was times last year where you thought this club's going on one way and it's down. So I think we can sort of have expectations, but I think there's got to be some realism where maybe top 10 or top 8. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Wolves haven't sort of strengthened what I thought I would have. I mean, he brought in 2 young lads, and then I think Leicester is still. I don't think Leicester have signed anyone just yet. I'm not too sure with that one. So I think they haven't strengthened just yet. I mean, Tottenham. I think Tottenham just push. I think people just discard Tottenham, but Mourinho's a top manager, and they weren't far off last year. Yeah. They had their own issues, but I think he's quickly put the old plasters over what they needed, like Doherty, Højbjerg. So I don't think it'll be quite a. It's going to be ups and downs. And first year of Ancelotti, in my opinion, I wouldn't really be concerned about league wise. I think if they come in top 8, then that's fine for me. But the main thing for me is that they've got to push in the cups. Yeah. They've got to. Yeah. They've got to give the fan base something. You can't, it's all well and good, like the boardroom and people at the club going, yeah, it's a success coming out. Well, I don't think that is. Yeah, no, I don't think for fans it is. I mean, if you got top 10 and say Everton come 10th and they won the Carling Cup, I'd be made up with that. Yeah, that's progression in my eyes. I mean, you've got to start doing something. Give us anything.
Spot on. Spot on. And I think you make a really, really valid point there about about the cup competitions and us actually pushing for a trophy rather than focusing an awful lot on the league, because ultimately, listen, the league position, again, unless you're finishing banging that top 6 or in that top 4, you're getting European football finishing 7th and 8th, but you have to go in the qualifiers, and it's a tough ask, but a trophy is exactly what this football club is craving, and I honestly think this is a very, very good opportunity and a very, very good season for us to go out there and do that.
Would you say it's harder to get in the top 6 than what it is to get to an FA Cup final or a Carling Cup final?
Yeah, I would. I'd say.
So why? So why wouldn't the club prioritise that?
Yeah,
because if you come in the final and say you're against City, then they're near enough guaranteed top 4, Andy. That's Europe.
Yeah, spot on.
It just seems more of an easier pathway than trying to go out and beat these clubs that, let's be honest, they've got more financial clout than you, and you're never going to be able to compete with them when you're not on their level European wise and that. So I just see it as the target should be a cup, a trophy at least.
Yeah. No, I agree completely, and I think you're spot on, like you said. It's difficult. It's becoming increasingly more difficult as the seasons go on to finish in those European places, top 6. The top 4 we all know has been very difficult for a long time. But getting to a Carabao Cup final, even an FA Cup final at this point, it's not all that difficult if you play a strong team. In every game, and you go out there with the right mentality and the right tactics, and you were thinking, I don't know, every manager comes out before a Carabao Cup game, even if they play a weakened team, and says, we want to win it, we want to go as far as possible, but we need to show that on the pitch. If we're playing Brentford at home, or if we're playing I don't know, Wycombe Wanderers at home.
You got Salford next week.
There you go.
Play your strong team and go past them, get it over with, go into the next thing, and then it's fine. Like, I think it was last year or the year before, Watford got to a final. Do you understand what I'm saying? And got tonked. Yeah. So it can be if these clubs, like, I'm not trying to play them down, but if these clubs can do it, why can't we?
Spot on.
Do you know what I mean? There's no curse.
Yeah.
We all think there's a curse, but there's no curse. So go out and break it and just show fight. Like, for the last 5 years, we haven't seen nothing like that, have we?
No. We haven't. Spot on, and we've seen teams like you mentioned, Watford. We've seen Wigan in 2013. We've seen, a lot of sides that you wouldn't even think would have had a chance of getting to the final when the competition started, getting there or there and thereabouts, and we should be in there as well, because ultimately, listen, finishing top 6 would be fantastic for Everton Football Club, and it would mean we'd have had a very successful season. But if you'd say to me now, 2 days before the season starts, would you rather finish 6th with no trophy or 9th with a trophy? I'd be snatching 9th with a trophy all day. Yeah. Because it's what we need as a football club. We need to break that mental barrier. We need to break that barrier of not winning a trophy in however long it's been now. And yes, getting top 6 would be fantastic, but if you can win that trophy, then that takes us, in terms of mentality-wise and as a club, that takes us a step further than what finishing in top 6 would. So obviously we start the season with Spurs on Sunday. Already not a fantastic start to the Premier League season. We haven't even kicked the ball yet, and Everton Football Club or the Liverpool Echo reported that Mason Holgate could be due to have around 6 weeks out on the sideline, and even that is... when what was first feared isn't actually as bad as some people first feared. So Everton haven't even kicked the ball in the Premier League yet. The Premier League hasn't started. We're still Friday night, and yet we've got one of our most influential and important players, it certainly was towards the back end of last season, out injured, and looks like he will be out injured for the first sort of 2 months of the season. How detrimental do you think that's going to be then? Obviously we'll go through our predicted starting 11s in just a moment, and we'll talk about the game itself, but in regards to Mason being missing for quite a decent chunk of the first half of the season. Obviously we play some big games in that period as well. Don't know whether he'll be back for the Merseyside derby. I'd like to hope so, but I'm unsure. Tottenham away from home. We play a Carabao Cup game as well. How detrimental is that on the team? Obviously, because he's an important player, isn't he?
Yeah. I think if you pull it, say if it was a Richarlison or something, yeah, it is very worrying. But I think the main thing is with Holgate. I mean, Mean is available, and so is Keane. Yeah. And I think the back end of the season, Keane produced some good performances. Yeah. So I think the sort of confidence in Keane can sort of deflect from having. I don't think he's out for that long, is he? I don't think it's 6 weeks. Is it
The
something
Echo
like
reported
that?
that it's feared to be around about 6 weeks. Obviously, the club haven't come out and made any statement yet. It could be a bit less, it could be more. But
See, I think they've got enough there to sort of counterbalance it. So I think Mina's going to be available. Keane's going to be available. I think Gibson's still at the club. I think he's shown a bit in the pre-season. They even had Bramley-Moore last year, who done very well. So I think it's not a massive concern, but the quicker he got back, the better. But I wouldn't sort of rush him back, if that made sense. I think he got a bad injury at the end of the season anyway. So I just be careful. See, with trying to rush players back or throw players in, I think we found out very quickly with Marco Silva, the Gabaman situation. Like he just threw him right in the mix, and you could tell by the lad's face he didn't have a clue what was going on. And before you know it, he's had horrendous injuries. So you've got to be careful with the lads. Like he is an important player to a point, but he's not Richarlison. So I'd take it easy with him and just see how we go. But I wouldn't really. It's not a major issue in my opinion.
Yeah, spot on. I agree. You're spot on there with the point you make. It's not a position that we're desperately lacking in. And okay, with Mason Holgate out, we've got 4 centre halves, and 2 of them are still very young and with minimal Premier League experience. I don't think Lewis Gibson's got any Premier League experience, if I'm right. But Mina and Keane both were the first choice centre half at the start of last season. Obviously, Yerry Mina coming in on a lot of money. You're spot on about Michael Keane. Fantastic end of the season, earned himself a new contract as well. So I'm confident going into the game on Sunday with those 2 at centre half. Look, it would be ideal if Mason Holgate was fit and he could be in there, because he showed that consistency towards the back end of the season. He showed that ability and that confidence that we need in this team. But you're spot on. It's not like a Richarlison or even a Calvert-Lewin or somebody where you look at and you think, where are we going to get goals from with this player out? Where are we going to get what he brings? You look at Branthwaite, who I thought was absolutely fantastic when he come in towards the back end of the season. He was playing not even in the first team for Carlisle only 6-12 months ago, and he stepped into a Premier League side and he looked comfortable, he looked assured, he looked confident, he looked good on the ball, he was big, he was physical, he wasn't afraid to get up there and mix it with some of the most dominant strikers and forwards.
I hope they do get him a good loan, where he's not sent to the Wolves in some taking, because previous players like Joe Williams and that have been sent to places where you just think, what's he doing there? Do you know what I mean? You worry, and also I think about it, like the way Ancelotti talks, he doesn't really speak about Holgate, does he? He doesn't. He bigs Keane up a lot, and with Tomori supposedly coming in on loan, Holgate could be the one that misses out. And unfortunately, if Keane's playing well and you bring in Tomori and you've got Mina, you could sort of, he has been playing well, Holgate, and he is very good. I wish he started every game, but you can sort of see in Ancelotti, you could understand why he'd start missing out, because if Keane starts performing, he wants that yin and yang sort of partnership where someone can play and someone can just do the dog work, and Keane can do the dog work, can't he? So I think Tomori's if they do get Tomori, I think he'd be a very, very smart piece of business, him. And also as well, I think fans, he did play well all games over last year, but playing on the left side just does not complement the team whatsoever.
No.
He gets caught, his position's poor, he can't really use his left foot, he doesn't open out at all. If you switch them to the right hand side, he'd be far much better. He'd be a hell of a lot of a better player. But if he's going to be competing with Tomori on the left-hand side, I can see him less and less getting any time with the team, really.
Fair enough. So going into the game, if you're enjoying the team, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. You can find Tom's Twitter in the description below. Go and drop him a follow as well. Share the stream. I
still like Holgate, by the way. Don't start tweeting at me.
The key thing was you said before you'd have him in every week if you could, so... I think you're safe with that one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. It only takes a second. Like I said, share the live stream, leave a like if you are enjoying. So going into Sunday's game then, opening game of the season, Tottenham Hotspur, very, very difficult game, very difficult side to play, obviously away from home as well. We get stung every year. I think the last 3 years we've been away from home, first game of the season. I want to talk about the game towards the back end of last season away at Spurs, because it literally was 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I know that we've brought players in, the likes of Alan and James Rodriguez and Abdoulaye Doucouré, and I know there's been a lot that's happened since then and a lot of work gone on in the training ground, but it was only a few weeks back. We're not talking 12 months ago, we're not talking the beginning of the season, we're talking literally within the last 6 weeks or so. Everton, we'll talk about it briefly, we won't talk about it too much, but sort of leading into this game on Sunday away at Spurs, I think Everton proved in that game last season, towards the back end of the season, is that there still seemed to be some form of mentality issue. We just didn't turn up, and for me, that was one of the, if not the most disappointing games of the season, and not because we got battered, not because we lost heavily. Look, we lost to Liverpool heavily last season, which was embarrassing. We lost in the FA Cup to Liverpool, which was embarrassing. We lost to Wolves towards the back end of the season, which was a much worse performance in terms of how we played than the Spurs game. But for me, the Spurs game was up there, if not the most disappointing, because for the 90 minutes of watching that game, I looked at Spurs and I thought, if we got at these a little bit, if we showed a bit about us, if we showed a bit of aggression, if we showed a bit of energy, we could win this game. And not only is that a 3 points, which at the time we were fighting for Europe, or we were still sort of seeing ourselves in the race for challenging for Europe at that point, but also it gets you over that mental block. I think we've only played 2 games at Spurs' new stadium, but I can't remember the last time we won at White Hart Lane. It's the same thing with Stamford Bridge, the same thing with the Emirates. For me, there's some form of block with the players going to these big stadiums against these, I don't even want to say big or top sides, because you've got your likes of your Wolves and your Leicester, who were, Leicester specifically, we've been to in recent years and won there and there, sort of, especially last season, were better than Spurs and were on better form than Spurs. But it's those sort of big six, if you like, the notorious sides at the top that we struggle with away from home, don't we? And for me, that game last season was so disappointing, because we should have turned up and we should have given them a little bit. We should have got at them. We should have, challenged them, went toe-to-toe with them. But we didn't. We sort of shied off, and, they scored a scrappy goal. It come off Michael Keane, a massive deflection. I can't even remember if it was on target at the time, but it was a massive deflection.
I don't think it was.
No, yeah, they won 1-0, and they didn't bring anything for the rest of the game. But we almost sort of felt like, if you can play bad, we can play worse. And for me, that was the most frustrating thing. So it's important that going into Sunday's game, Tom, we don't make the same mistakes. And I understand that Everton have bought a little bit of bite in with Alan and Doucouré and James Rodriguez. And obviously, we don't know whether either of them 3 will start or if feature. We'll talk about our predicted start 11s in a second, and we'll go through whether we think they will start. But it's important that we don't make the same mistakes as that game towards the back end of last season, isn't it? Because they weren't great, and they had all their fit players. They had Kane back, they had Son back, but they just didn't settle fantastically, and we just sort of looked like we thought, well, we'll play worse. If you want to play bad, we'll one up you.
Yeah. Well, what Everton are very good at, they're very good at getting your hopes up, aren't they?
Yeah.
So what they do is they show good performances, and then you go, oh yeah, we could do something, and then you just watch them and go, you might as well have stayed on the bus here, lads.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So the last game we played, there was nothing.
Yeah.
No midfield. There was no fight. We didn't want to be there. There was no. You could tell by Ancelotti's sort of demeanour on the line. He was shocked, and he got that Everton. He got that Everton that we've all seen. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That he was just shocked that, like, there was no fight. There was actually no like plan or any attacking style. Yeah. There was nothing. There was nothing in the game, and you just. From minute 1, from like 5 to when you first showed them, what you thought, and I'm sure a lot of people thought these are going to just get beat here. Yeah. You could just see, we've seen it plenty of times before. We've seen it the previous weeks where they went and got beat 4-0 by Chelsea. Yeah. Billy Gilmour was absolutely running the show for them in midfield, and he was like 18. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's got to be some sort of, I wouldn't say, I don't know, mentality change. I just don't know whether they have it in them, the players that they had. Like, they had Davis, Gomez and Sigurdsson in the midfield. Like, I think Davis was playing right mid. There's no mobility whatsoever in them players. They just, unfortunately, they got run riot and they were getting run round legged. Yeah. So I think I think this game, it's gonna be it's basically the same team.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you might see a few new faces, but I think the realization for fans is that we're going there with the same team.
Yeah.
So I think if you come away with a draw, then you come away and you crack on with the season.
Yeah.
But I think with the way Tottenham have shown it in the way they finished the season and the way Mourinho will have them and Harry Kane's fit and that it is going to be a tough game.
Yeah. Definitely spot on. And I want to ask you something as well, just on that. I know, listen, we will go into 2.5 predict the starting 11s in a moment. I'm not saying that either of the three signings will play the entirety of the game. I'm not saying they'll start, I'm not saying they'll feature. But do you think the levels of the rest of the team will step up? Regardless, let's say that Alan Decore and James Rodriguez don't start on Sunday, but they're on the bench, the three of them. Do you think that the levels of the side will step up because they know that those players are there and ready to come in and ready to challenge and ready to take their place? For example, a Sigurdsson or a Gomez if he starts. Do you think they'll up their game because they're looking on the bench thinking, well, the only reason why I'm in this squad is because Alan hasn't completely settled yet or Decore hasn't had enough time. If I don't perform, I'm out and they're in, and if they perform, then that's it. Do you think the overall levels will step up to what it was last season when there wasn't that much competition on the bench? In fact, there was no competition.
Depends on what players, really, doesn't it? I mean, we can see players who just fall to bits, who are happy there to get a wage.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, with Sigurdsson, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of negativity around him, which clearly justified. But at least he's professional enough, and yeah, sometimes he will step up, like with sort of Davies and Gomez. They're sort of these lackluster players that just sometimes just go through the motions, don't they? Yeah. Who are not really fussed about getting a substitute. So, I mean, it's a tough one to say, but as I say, it's one of them. If they're not going to be good enough, then they're out the squad, aren't they? And they're straight out, no messing.
Yeah, exactly. Spot on.
There'll be no nonsense. There'll be no nonsense with that Ancelotti, especially with previous managers with Marco Silva, where we'd be absolutely fuming as a fan base, thinking, why is he starting? Well, that's from the manager, isn't it? They're just going to replay it, and that's where players get away with things, where they can drop the performances.
Yeah, spot on. No, I agree completely, and I think it's important that we step it up, because if we don't step it up, we're in for a tough game on Sunday, and we're in for we're in for another game that we could struggle in. Certainly the current players. We will go into our predicted starting 11s then. I'm just aware that there's a slight technical issue, so I'm just gonna fix that for the moment. Hang on, it might fix itself. Give me a second. You still there? You still on?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm still on. I don't know whether your cameras decided to go off a little.
Might have been.
Let's try.
That'll be machine, that.
On the other line.
Yeah, get him off. He's talking sense.
It's a big car though, that.
Yeah.
See if we can try and get it sorted. Then I don't know whether it's just took itself off. If you try and turn your camera on and back on, off and back on again, it might fix itself.
It might do it.
But in the time being, then I'll go over my predicted starting 11. And look, obviously we're both aware that we've made 3 signings, and we're both aware that in the ideal situation, all 3 players will be fit and ready to go. But we know with seasons and with starting seasons, that's not always the case. So back line, back 4, back 5 really. I've gone for Jordan Pickford in goal. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think anybody else is going to play in goal. Let's be perfectly honest. I know Jonas Lerzel's there, and I know you've got João Virginia, and you've got the young lad Harry Tyler, who played really, really well against Preston. But let's be perfectly honest. I think the only option is Jordan Pickford. He's the only first team keeper, and he's the only player that's going to play in goal on Sunday, barring any strange injury. I've gone for the back line of Luca Dean, Yerry Mina, Michael Keane and Seamus Coleman. Very similar back line to one that we saw for large parts of last season. We know, like we just spoke about, Mason Holgate being out for at least the next couple of weeks or so. So he isn't going to start in the game. So therefore, Yerry Mina and Michael Keane step in. Don't get me wrong, Jared Branthwaite could step in, or potentially even Lewis Gibson, but I think it'll be Yerry Mina and Michael Keane purely because they've got that experience. They played together a lot last season and even the season prior. And of course they are, of course they're the two fit starting centre backs. And then I've gone for Seamus Coleman at right back. John Joe Kenny's in there, but I'm just not too sure John Joe Kenny is ready and fit yet. You still there, mate? Or have we?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on with the camera, but
we'll keep it. We'll keep it audio. If you flick it back on and off and see if it works at one point, then we'll go to that. But it should automatically come back on the system anyway. Going into the midfield, then this is where it gets a little bit saucy and where some people I think are probably going to disagree with some of the choices. I haven't gone with Alan, Decore and James Rodriguez because I'm just not too sure all three players will start and all three players will play from the off. I have gone for Alan in there. I think he starts. Carlo Ancelotti said in his interview when Alan first signed, he said that he's ready to play. He's been training with Napoli. He was training on his own, I think, as well individually, so he is fit to play. So I've gone for Alan in there. I've gone for Gylfi Sigurdsson next to him. Now, I know a lot of people will probably click off or dislike or run away and that. But I just, again, I'd love Alan and Decore to play and start and have a fantastic game, but I'm just not too sure how realistic that is with both of them only being at the club for less than a week or so. Yes, they've both been training, and yes, I'm not saying that they're both not fit, but I think Carlo Ancelotti will put one of them in and then see how that works with whoever else is playing there. I can't see Ancelotti going to Sigurdsson and Davis and co, right, okay, thanks for your time, but you're just going to fucking sit on the bench now. I think that'll be a gradual process, and it'll be a good time for Ancelotti to see if those players can step it up and if those players can put the performances in that ultimately are needed of them. And if not, you'll have Decore fit, you'll have Alan fit, and you'll have those players ready to step in and make that impact. On the wings, then I've gone for Anthony Gordon and I've gone for Alex Iwobi again, very similar to James Rodriguez, to the Decore situation. I'm just not convinced he'll start. Again, I'd love him to start and I'd love him to be able to go and play a 90 and be absolutely fantastic and fit enough to do that. But I'm just not convinced that Carlo Ancelotti will do that. I think he'll bring James Rodriguez off the bench, if anything. And then
watching after the Iwobi show.
There's still 69 people watching, quite frankly. Again, I've gone with Iwobi. Listen, it could be Bernard, it could be, quite frankly, James, it could be Richarlison on the wing. I know Tom's gone with a slightly different formation to myself, which may make for Richarlison being on one of the wings. We'll have to see what Tom goes for in a moment. But again, I just don't think Carlo will play all three at once in the same team. Anthony Gordon on the other wing, really, really good young player, obviously hoping he can sort of break through properly this season and really, really have an impact on the team. And then I've gone for Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison rekindling their partnership up top. So there you go, it's probably not the starting 11 that a lot of people would have wanted to hear. It's not your Decore and Allen and James in the same team, but I think if we're being realistic and we're looking at obviously those players only coming into the club less than a week or so ago, yes, we know Allen's fit and Allen's ready, and I bet you all three of them are fit and ready. I just don't see them being thrown into the same team in such a tough fixture away to Tottenham. So go on then, mate. Firstly, what do you think of my predicted starting 11, and then give us yours and we'll go through that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too dissimilar to what I've gone for, really. I mean, similar players, but I personally think the way they acted, like where we went on about last time they were at Tottenham, and the way that midfield performed, I'd be surprised if some of the new lads did play. I mean, maybe one. I mean, we're saying Allen because I think he got thingied first, but you don't really know how fitness is going wise and all that. He might do, but with my starting 11, I've gone for just to sort of fill the midfield because we got overrun last time.
Yeah.
And I think that could be in Ancelotti's mind at the moment.
Yeah. Spot on. Go on then, give us your back line and
right. So I've gone Virginia in goal. No, I'm joking. Pickford in goal. Pickford in goal. Pickford in goal. Kenny right back.
Okay.
I think with Kenny, I think Ancelotti's give a lot of positive signs about Kenny. I just Coleman is the trustworthy one, but the last few press conferences I've heard and what Ancelotti, he's made a point of talking about him.
Yeah.
So I feel like he is going to get, and especially the number that he's just given, he's given the number 2. So I can't really see him going anywhere in my honest opinion. I think he will start. Gone Keane, Mina and Lucas Dean.
Yeah.
I mean, Keane and Mina, I think he's just going to go for familiarity with them two. Just they know each other, they know how they play. I wouldn't really, first game of the season, I couldn't really see him going for Branthwaite or Gibson really, because I just don't think that, I mean, it's all well and good putting them in pre-season and getting them games in pre-season. It's a different ball game when you start in the Premier League. So I think he'll go for a Trustworthy back 2, and then obviously Lucas Dean. Yeah. He's a nail on really, and it's Trustworthy, one of our important players. So yeah, he's going left back. And midfield 3, I've gone for Sigurdsson, Davies and Gordon. I think he started the pre-season with that sort of midfield with Sigurdsson sitting. Yeah. But maybe they take Davies out and put Allen in and push Sigurdsson on. But I think he'll play with a 3 in the midfield just to sort of like get on top of what Tottenham were doing last game. I mean, that's where they won. They won the battles. We were winning no second balls. Everything was going to them. It was just a one-way street really, and they didn't really do much Tottenham last time. But I feel like if we did get on top of them in midfield, we can sort of at least contain them, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think Sigurdsson's going to be sitting. I think if we are going to be, I couldn't see him playing a more. I can see him playing a more deeper role than what we're used to. Yeah. I can see sort of Davies being the box-to-box player where you'll see him go and try and go forward and try and help out at the back. And then I really think he's got a soft spot for him, Gordon. Yeah. I think he really likes him. Like I say with Kenny, if you read between the lines, he wouldn't just bring up these young lads on with Kenny as well, being at another club. He wouldn't just bring them up for no apparent reason. Yeah. And I think he has brought very positive vibes about Gordon. I mean, I think we're all assuming that Gordon might go out on loan now. Yeah. But I think he'll be a very important piece to what Ancelotti's trying to do going forward. And I think he'll play that sort of 10 role, as it makes sense. And I think that's his best spot, really. I mean, he had very good games on the left-hand side, cutting inside, but I mean, for the under-20 team, he's a number 10 and he's a sensible midfielder. So I think he will give Gordon a chance. And then I've gone for Richie on the left, and then Walcott on the right with DCL up front.
There you go.
I think with Richarlison, we all get short memories with Richarlison. And we always think, oh yeah, he's a striker and all this. But if you think further back, he was out of his depth when he got played up on his own. Yeah. He couldn't hold the ball up. He couldn't do much, and then he got changed, and he was a totally different player when they went 4-4-2. And I think he did need that player like Calvert-Lewin to do the dog work. I think we bought Richarlison. We bought him for an attack and wide player. I think his first season he was brilliant from the left-hand side. I think he just sort of fell into that 4-4-2 really, and you know, when you're the best player at the club and you're a sort of attacker, you're gonna fill that role, and the emphasis is on you. And yeah, he has played well up front, but I feel like his best attributes are from the left-hand side. I mean, you've seen him. That's what we bought. That's why we didn't buy him as a striker from Watford. We didn't play him there his first season. So I feel like Richie and Lucas Dean are going to make a good partnership this year on the left-hand side. Yeah. And plus as well, it will save Everton a lot of money if he does go on the left-hand side, because the likes of Bernard, Iwobi, Walcott, they're not really sort of going to produce 10 to 12 goals a season, that what Everton need. Yeah. So he's going to go on the left, and Walcott is on the right, just to play that winger. Yeah. I mean, and just for legs, and he, he's professional about his business, and he Walcott sometimes. He can be horrendous some days, but on his day, he's just a professional footballer who just knows how to play that role.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of managers like him. He just knows how to play the role that he's given. So I feel like he's going to be the outlet, and I think that's a lot of. I think on attacking situation, on counter-attacking situations as well. I think Walcott, DCL, and Richarlison. You've got legs. Yeah. We're not going to be having dictating possession at Tottenham. We're going to be sat back. And last year we seen what having no legs was like. I mean, we got the ball, we played out. We had Dave. There was no speed outlet on the wings from last season. So I think speed is the factor to try and counter attack what Mourinho will try and set up. And if we can do that, and we can sort of get on the break with Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin and Walcott, I think we're going to have a good game. I mean, yeah, I think the best outcome for us is, and for Ancelotti, is to just go get a draw, get a clean sheet. I think it'll be a low scoring game. Yeah. Famous last words there, but from what I've seen last year, it's going to be a low scoring game, so I can see it being 1-1, 0-0. Yeah. I mean, if we come out of Tottenham with a 0-0, happy days, isn't it?
Yeah, spot on. So I take it you think the new three signings will be on the bench?
Yeah, I think. I mean, maybe one you might see start, but I'd be surprised if they all start. I mean, the main one we probably do need is Allen.
That's what we lacked last season against them, was that intensity.
Yeah, I mean, this is why everyone bigs up Garner and Garner's role. Garner's role was just to break play up and smash and go and give. Yeah. That was it. And that's what we massively missed. I mean, that's what the players missed. I mean, once he went and we didn't fill it, I know we bought Gabam, but Gabam got injured. We had no one like that. Yeah. I mean, Delph, I forgot even Delph was at the club, actually. I mean,
shows the impact he's at.
Yeah. I mean, we've got Delph there, but it weren't the same, and players got shown up in the work rate early, didn't he? So that's one player out of the three that have come in that I am interested to see how he performs. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Tottenham, I mean, Højbjerg, I mean, we put a bid in for him. Yeah. So we were after that player at that type of destroyer sort of type. So I think out of any of them, if it is going to be, I think Davies on my one will probably come out, and either Allen or Decore will be the one to come in.
Yeah, spot on. And James, I think we're both in agreement, probably coming off the bench. I probably think with the view of starting on Wednesday against Salford, going in there, nice, easy game. Not to disrespect Salford, but you know what I mean. Carabao Cup second round, get him in there and see what his fitness is like for the 90-minute spell. Obviously, with both of our teams there, mine and Tom's, I think, listen, in an ideal world when everybody's fit and everybody's settled into the squad, Gylfi Sigurdsson is probably not going to play an awful lot of first team games, probably not going to start. Neither's Tom Davis, neither's Alex Iwobi in my squad, but it's important to understand that with the new signings, they've not played together for a start in a competitive game. Two of them haven't played in the Premier League before, and they haven't played under Carlo Ancelotti at Everton with his tactics, with the players around them, and it's an away game against a very good side that are going to be looking to start the season strongly as well. So I don't think it's realistic to think that all three of them will be thrown in there. Like Tom said, I completely agree. I'll put Allen in there, potentially one of the signings in the starting 11, with the rest of them, with the other two being on the bench. But it's not going to be everyone in at once, is it? Because that could ruin. That could, in the very first game of the season, that could ruin them if they don't play well together, or they're not fit, or it could just be a complete waste of time, couldn't it?
Yeah, what fans have got to realise is that it's 38 games in a Premier League, and then it's how many on top of that for Carling Cup and FA Cup. So we just got to see, Everton fans are very emotional, aren't we? So, if he's not playing, there's all chaos on Twitter and everything, but we just got to chill out and just have confidence in what Ancelotti's doing. He's no mug, you know what I mean? It's not like the others that we've had in the past. So I think we just got to take it game by game, and like I keep saying, realism. Just realise where we are as a club at the moment. I mean, not too long ago, Marco Silva was here and we were getting relegated in everyone's eyes. So I think there's just got to be a steady progression and sort of build them into the squad. I mean, I was just checking up then. Tottenham, we've got Tottenham, and then we've got Salford, and then we've got West Brom at home, Palace, and then Brighton, and then the ultimate big game there. I mean, I think Ancelotti will take the Salford game, West Brom, Palace, and Brighton, just to slowly progress them in. And don't forget, this has been an absolute madness of a year, by the way. Yeah. This is not like your normal pre-season. This is not your normal start to a build-up to a league. Yeah. So just be happy at the fact that we've got these players in, and in the space of 4 weeks, come that derby, I want them all playing. Yeah. I don't want them all. What my worst fear is if he rushes them in at West Brom and they're all playing like. So say for example we get beat by Tottenham and then we go and get beat by West Brom. That could be a realisation with the players of what we previously had. It could happen. So I want just not panic to set in. I just want them to trust the process, and once you start getting hammers firing, and don't forget his injury record hasn't been the best the last few seasons. So you've got to sort of be careful with a player like that. And if we can get him playing where he's playing every week, then happy days for Everton.
Spot on.
We've just got to sort of take our time in the first 5 games. Don't forget as well, we've only had two games of pre-season.
Exactly.
So he'll probably see the next 3 games as pre-season.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't go gung go, and we see the sort of
what we all want to see.
Well, we want to just see calm heads, don't we, in the dugouts? Yeah. Because we haven't seen that for a long time.
Spot on.
So. Yeah.
Spot on. If you're enjoying the live stream, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. We'll get into the live comments, and then I want to talk about something that's probably a little bit controversial in the way I'll mention it, but I think it's important to mention. I know that there's a lot of people in the live comments. Big thanks for all of the support. 77 people currently watching. Really do appreciate it. If you are enjoying, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. It only takes a second. Tom's links are down in the description as well. You can check Tom out. And the reason that if you're joining us a little bit late, the reason that there's no camera is because we're having some technical issues, but Tom's still here and you can hear his voice and this conversation still going on. So there's no point in trying to turn everything off because that'll just completely cock everything up. So we may as well carry on as we are. Whammy says, Cam lad, guest, how you doing? I'm not too bad, mate. Evertonian Luke says, how are we, lads? Hope you are all good. I'm good, mate. I'm good. Liam says, midfield 3 of Alan Gomez, Decore with James, Richarlison, Dom, front 3 with Richie and James dropping in to make a 5-man midfield, although I would prefer to see James in the 10, but I'm not Carlo Ancelotti. I think that's something that could happen later on in the season. I don't think we'll see it on Sunday because, we've already mentioned, we don't want to rush these players in. We don't want to rush these formations and these tactics on the players, bearing in mind not only the new players who are new to it. If we rush that tactic, it'd be rushed on all of the other players as well. And it's the first game of the season. Tottenham are going to come out there wanting to win. We know it's a winnable game because we could have won it last season if we'd have stepped up and showed a bit of fight and showed a bit of something about us. But again, it's something that we could potentially see at some point, but I don't think we'll see it on Sunday. William says, talks of Arias again. Think Tom is right. We need a right back and a pacey winger. Just briefly then, what are your thoughts on Arias, mate? Obviously, we've been linked with him heavily over the last couple of months or so. Again, the links have come up sort of today and over the last couple of days or so. Do you like him as a player? Would you bring him in? Do you think he improves Everton?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's I think he'd be a lot better defensively than what Sidibe done for the club. Yeah. I mean, he was a very attacking right back, Sidibe, and had nothing going the other way. So. Yeah, I mean, that was the issue with Sidibe. So that was all season with me. See where I sit in the main stands, that first half or second half, I just watch Sidibe and think the long ball over in between him and Keane's in all day. Yeah. Oh, you just see it. And we just need a solid, consistent right back. It's not much hard to ask for, is it?
No,
you know what I mean? We just want a solid right
We got
back
it with
who
left
just
back.
put in it. Yeah, I mean, well, I don't even want it to be that because he's world class, Lucas Dean. He always, I mean, it's not going to be hard to get in a world class sort of right back, but Arias is just going to be solid and he's going to fill gaps. I mean, potentially he could, but like we've been talking there, Kenny could be the number one.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more and more we see it, Kenny probably will be. And don't get me wrong, he has got his issues at defensively, Kenny. And I did watch him with Schalke, and he hadn't really shrugged them off. So hopefully Carlo's got into him and sort of getting that out of him. But listen, if Carlo trusts him and he's happy to go into a 38-game season with him, then we've all just got to accept it and move forward. But yeah, I mean, if he does come in, then I'll be happy with it.
No, I agree. Spot on. Shabba says, hi, it's great to have my Friday night fix of the Mighty Blues. Thank you very much, mate. Everton and Luke says, main position to improve will be keeper, but we know that that won't happen this season. Yeah, I think Carlo is going to give Jordan Pickford this season to prove himself, to prove that he can perform at the high level, to prove that he can give some consistency, because ultimately, I think we spoke about Jordan Pickford a few videos back. It's not a key position. It wasn't a key position at the start of the transfer window because we were massively lacking anything in the midfield. We've brought 3 midfielders in that will hopefully fill that gap and do it perfectly. Then you're looking at full back, right back. Then you're looking at winger. We probably would have been looking at left back. I know Niles Nkunku's done very, very well in the games that he's played in so far, but they were pre-season games against lower league opposition. So there's other positions on the pitch that we need to address before we look at goalkeeper. And
you can't always address everything in one transfer window. That's what clubs look at. Like when you see Kerry coming back, and then there'll be discussions behind the scenes, and it'll be, do you reckon he'll be all right for the next thing? Can we trust him to be that player? And they look at it and think, well, we need a right winger, so that's more of a priority. When you've got Kenny and Coleman, it's not that bad, but from maybe January, if no one does come in, maybe January they look at it again. Maybe next summer they might just look at it again. It's all about progression, really.
Spot on. Will said, Cam lad, if all 3 new signings are fit, they have to start. I don't think they will, purely because, again, of bringing them in slowly and not throwing them in at the deep end. But it'll be interesting to see what Carlo goes with. Toothy says, Cam bro, punctual as usual. Teddy says, was the DCL pointing for Baines? Yeah, obviously we'll scout over it briefly. Leighton Baines has returned to Everton Football Club, not in the form that we all would have expected 4 weeks ago and probably would have wanted, but he is back as a professional development coach. He will be working with the first team, with the under-23s and with the under-18s. David Unsworth's also had a promotion to Academy Director, however he will still be managing the under-23 squad. Just briefly then, before we go back into talking about the Spurs game, a little bit of a segue out of the context of the game a little bit, but happy that Baines is back, mate. Obviously very, very sad that he left and retired with obviously no fans being there to see him off, but happy he's back. And do you think he could do a good job in that sort of professional development coach, which you don't really know what it means because it's a new role as far as I'm concerned. I think the club said he's this, and he's the first player to be this, but let's just assume it means what it says, a coach of developing players that are in the youth squads and around him. Do you think he'd be good at doing that?
Yeah, I think he's a very intelligent man. Yeah. Baines, for starters. I think he's got a lot of things going on outside of just Everton Football Club, haven't he? And listen, I love when they bring back these players. They've got to keep that sort of tradition going and identity of what Everton have, because the last few seasons, like I don't want to bash Michelle and all that. It's been great that he has been putting money in, but we don't want to get away from what Everton is all about. Yeah. And it's all about these players coming back and helping, and hopefully he does very well. I'm all for it to bring him back.
Spot on, me too. And like you mentioned, a very intelligent man, very good footballer. Still technically could have done a job for Everton and a lot of Premier League clubs for probably another 2 or 3 years. Yeah, he lost that yard of pace that we all knew he had one side and was fantastic. But on the ball, technically, you've seen it in December, the goal against Leicester. For me, I don't know if you agree, Tom, but I'm going to go out there and say still technically one of the, if not the best footballers at Everton with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, we won't disagree about Baines, no one will, but the one thing I'd say about Baines, when you noticed him over his later years, he always had his arm around the young lads.
Definitely.
If you notice that, so it's a good role for him. He sort of throws the arm round them, and you could see that he was close with Davies when he was coming through. Yeah. You can see him talking to Gordon when they're coming off. So it's probably a very good role for him. And listen, these lads who are in the under-23s now have seen Leighton Baines at his height. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? At one point he was probably the best left back in the world. So they see that, and there's sort of that authority there that he's got, and that sort of respect that probably Everton youngsters need now, because we've seen a good generation come through, and they weren't really looked after, really. So I feel like the club are addressing things like that.
Yeah, spot on. No, I agree completely. And Anthony Gordon put up a picture a few months back when he was playing with Baines and said, when your idols turn into your teammates, and Seamus Coleman come out after Baines retired in an interview and said, he's not a football mad person. He doesn't massively love football. He wouldn't stay and watch the game, watch other teams after the games. He'd get up, he'd go, he'd bring his guitar. We know he's a fond magician and a fond musician.
Pulling rabbits out of his ass.
Yeah, pulling rabbits. Yeah, exactly. Wish he could put some magic on the team for this season. But Coleman also said that he was always the first player in the training ground, and he was always the last player to leave. He was there when you got there in the morning, and he was there when you left of a night. So it just shows the work rate, and that will feed through into the younger players, and that will feed through into the current squad. If they know they've got a coach that is there before them and is there after them, they'll think, well, I want to work hard for this coach because he's working hard as well. I think it's brilliant to have Leighton Baines back. I'm absolutely made up that we'll see him in that navy and pink Everton gear, to be honest. As soon as I seen all the Bosch gear come out, I thought, oh my God, we're not even going to see Leighton Baines in it. But now, other than the kits, which he might throw on for argument's sake anyway.
Just when what people are watching, whether you can comment or what, are fans happy with ex-players coming back?
It's a good question, mate. It's a good question. Let us know in the live comments. We're in the live comments now. We're going to briefly talk about the game again in a moment, and then we'll dive back into them. But let us know, as Tom said, rightly so. Are you happy to see players coming back in a capacity that helps the club as well? Obviously, not just for the sake of things. Obviously, Leighton Baines coming back to be a coach, Duncan Ferguson coming back, and we've seen the effects that he had. So let us know in the live comments, and we'll get to those in a second. We'll do a couple more then, and then we'll talk back about the game. When we says think Kenny is suspect defensively and okay going forward, but we need a proper up and down right back, all become an issue through the season, in my opinion. Still think we need pace from somewhere. Fair enough. Whemi also says Cam rolls in the Marvel multiverse of time. And James says 4-4-2 Bernard, Alan Decore, Hope Hammers as well. Don't want to leave Kane, too much room with Mina at the back or the young lad. He also says just can't wait. Up the F and Toffees, and Stewie says alright Stewie, hope you're doing well. Leighton also says, I tell you what, I'm super excited for Sunday. Hasn't happened in a while. Yeah, I am as well. I think a lot of us are excited for the start of the season, which is a big telling point, of course, for the optimism that Carlo Ancelotti and the new signings have brought to the club. Back onto the game then. Look, we know it's going to be a tough game. We just spoke about how tough the game's going to be. I've written down in my notes, because I've written a few notes down. It's this sort of, again, I don't want to say rivalry, because rivalry isn't the right word, and I'm sick of the modern day sort of football fan and the modern day football attitude of, if one team signs a player from another team, that automatically means there's a rivalry. Or if one fella tweets a Southampton fan and he's an Everton fan and says, you were shit today, that means there's a rivalry between Southampton and Everton. I'm not having it. There's no rivalry between Everton and Southampton, Newcastle and Everton, West Ham and Everton, and there's not between Tottenham and Everton. But there does, especially with the fan base, there does still seem to be a little bit of bad blood, doesn't there? Obviously, after the Son situation, with Andre Gomez, and the fact that I don't think a lot of Everton fans were happy with the way the players reacted to that situation. Certainly not, going in and seeing how Son was and all of that sort of stuff. We had the back end of last season when the Tottenham players were arguing at the end of the half, and I know that was nothing to do with any bad blood between the two clubs, but again, a lot of Everton fans were saying, jump on that, go and get at that, they're getting at each other's throat. Is this a bigger game for you than just a opening Premier League game of the season against a good side, or do you just think we need to go out there and get what we can out the game, do the business, and come away from it?
Yeah, I mean, they're a top six side, so it is a big game for us, and we've got to sort of, especially with Ancelotti, you've got to sort of stamp something. Mm-hmm. You can't just get run over like we got last time and put up no fight whatsoever. I mean, you're talking about the Son situation. And I watched the the Amazon Prime documentary and Mourinho saying Tottenham are too nice. Well, what are we?
Yeah, exactly.
And now what are we? We, like there's things in football where you've just got to be where he says you've got to be one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I see you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
You've got to be. Roy Keane. People blast Roy Keane what he says on thing, but after time he's like, you've got to be all over them. There's no nicety. There should be no niceties in football on that football pitch for 90 minutes. Go in and stamp your authority on them. And if you don't do that, they'll just walk all over you. Especially good teams.
Yeah.
Especially good teams. The sort of, if you go into good teams and you test the mental state and you sort of flatten one first and you give them no respect, then you can get at them. But if they don't, then they'll just get walked over. And listen, if they come to listen, with the squad that they've got and what they're going to go with, we're not at their level. Yeah. No matter what anyone says on the chat, or we're not. It's just you've got to have some reality of where Everton Football Club are at this moment in time. And when we do start to feeding Alan and James Rodriguez and Decore in, then we can start showing what we're about. But at the moment, you've just got to get on the boards. Yeah. You can't. You just can't start with a defeat. Yeah. Whether it is Tottenham, you know what I mean. You go and draw with Tottenham, and then your first game against West Brom at home, you go beat them. You've got 4 points out of 2. Yeah. You know what I mean. You're happy then.
Yeah, definitely. And in regards to
we're not notoriously good at starting seasons. Well, are we? No, we never are. Yeah. You know what I mean.
Exactly, spot on. And what you're saying there, if Tottenham are too nice, what are we, and not having any bite, that is what we sort of see with Alan coming in, isn't it? Again, not that we know whether he'll start or not on Sunday, but he is that player that seems to have that little bit of bite, that little bit of, I'll get at you.
Everton fans love that. Yeah. I mean, we cheer a tackle.
Yeah, exactly, we do.
Not many clubs will do that.
Yeah, exactly, spot on.
You know what I mean? So...
Spot on. And on that, James says, I only class one team as our rivals, but we need to beat the top sides. Have to have passion and aggression in every game. And Toothy says Dean was the only player of our players who reacted to the Gomez injury appropriate. Well, he was the only player that seemed frustrated by it, which I thought was mad because, again, not to go too back on it and talk about a situation that's already happened, but I just thought, I don't think he intentionally wanted to do the damage that he done, but he intentionally slid in for the tackle because he was pissed off that Gomez had out-muscled him 5 minutes later or whatever it was. And Junior says, let's go Blues, need a good start. I know we will do good this season. Let's hope so, mate. Let's hope so. So, listen, it's going to be a tough game, isn't it, Tom? We will get into the live comments before we finish up, by the way. Cautious that you've got football in a moment, so I won't keep you too long. But it'll be a tough game, won't it? It's a tough opener to the season. It's a winnable game. It's a game that if we take a point away, like you said, you probably sit back and think, as long as we make a good account of ourselves and put in a decent performance, you think, right, okay, you take that away from home against Spurs on the opening day of the season. But it's a tough game to start with, isn't it? It's not the easiest. They're a good side, especially when fit as well.
Yeah, well, when you're coming up against the likes of Harry Kane, Son, Dele Alli, Lucas Moura, who are probably going to start, then you've got to sort of have some sort of thing and go, right, if we get a draw here, we're happy here and we can get away. And don't forget, we're away. Yeah. We're not notoriously good at tops, like we said in the earlier. We're not great going away to these top 6 sides. So if you can sort of get one of them demons out the way first and draw, then I'm happy with that. Yeah. Especially where the club is now, and don't forget, then we take them to Goodison Park, and if you can get them to Goodison Park, and you can beat them, then there's 4 points out of the meeting.
Yeah, spot on.
So you're happy. That's what I'm saying. You've got, as fans, you've got to see it as two teams where you see it home and away. So if you get a draw away and we go beat them at home, you got 4 points out of 6. That's how you start progressing in the team. In the league. So, yeah, I mean, listen, what do you think? Would you be happy with a draw, or what? Or you just want a performance, or you want to go win 6-0?
No, listen, I'd love us to go and win 6-0, and this game is, like I said, for me, I think if Everton put in a decent performance, we can beat Tottenham, and of course, again, listen, if we don't put in a decent performance and we come away with a draw, it's a point, and it's the start of the season. I just want us to go out there and make a little bit of a name for ourselves. Go out there, like you said earlier on, stamp our authority, stamp our foot a bit. Don't go out there like the back end of last season where they'll probably nick a lucky goal, an own goal, and then we don't look like wanting to get back into the game. We look disinterested. We don't look like we want any part of it. Go out there and stamp your foot a bit. Stand to them, not saying push at them with 11 men at the ball and throw yourself at them, but if they stand to you, you stand to them. You know, if Tottenham come up and they say, right, well, we're going to go in hard, we go in hard as well. If they break us, we break them. And I think if we match that, we've got a very good chance of getting a result. And I think if we'd have matched that last season in the game 6 weeks ago away from home, we'd have had a very good chance of getting a result as well. But we sort of just went, well, we don't want any part of this here. We, like you said before, we literally look like they should have just stayed on the coach. We don't look like we want any part of it. We're not interested. And I think for me, if we step up and put in a good performance and a performance that we can be proud of and we get a draw out of it, happy days. It's a draw against one of the top sides away from home. It's a good point. If we step up and get a win, fantastic. Don't get me wrong, if we don't turn up and get a win, obviously I'll be made up. But I just want that performance, mate, from Everton. Yeah. I just want us to turn up and not keel over and not think, oh, we're against Tottenham, who are one of the big sides with a massive stadium, so we'll just get our belly tickled. I want us to turn up and go, no, you know what, we can compete. Because this game, listen, it's the first game of the season, and a season's a very, long period of time, and a lot can happen throughout the season. Yeah. But this game is a good opportunity for these players and Carlo Ancelotti to look at it and go, right, okay, this is a good chance to show me what you can do against the side like Tottenham away from home, against the side that if you want to be fighting for Europe, you're going to have to perform away from home against. Not saying you're going to have to beat 8 or 9-0, but you're going to have to turn up and show that you can mix it with them. And it's a good chance to do that.
If you want top 6, this is where you've got to go get results. Yeah. It's just simple as that. If they don't get results, then they've set the season up to be what we think it probably will end up being. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to go get results, but like if you set a benchmark and you go put a performance in and it's 0-0 or 1-1, like we did when we went to Old Trafford and Ferguson, and they put a shift in, they grafted, they wanted, they nearly won that game. Yeah. Even just a performance like that to sort of give the fans something to just hold on to, give some positivity through the club. Because if we do start well, and say we do get a draw and we can beat West Brom and Palace and go away and you've got them, then you go into the derby with a massive opportunity to just bury them. Yeah. You know what I mean? From a fan's perspective, if you go in and you've got a bit of a run, you've got to go. Listen, no matter how good they are, Liverpool, you've got to go win it. Yeah. In my eyes, this year it has to happen. Yeah. Yeah. You can't keep going year in, year out and not get anything from them.
Yeah. No, I agree, absolutely spot on. I think this is the season that we go out and we stand up to them and we beat them, and we're going to have to have confidence to go in and have the ability to do that. And if we go to Spurs away from home and we can do it there, then we should be thinking we can do it at home against anybody. We can do it away from home against any of the top sides. But, we need to show that, don't we? Mitchell says, Cam, I have never seen the media back Everton so much since the signings. Maybe Everton have become exciting to broadcasters again, potentially. The Hammers stuff was fantastic to see, wasn't it? With the billboards and the Times Square and stuff. It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's how they should do it. Yeah. That's how they should do it. They sort of fail sometimes, Everton, but that was exactly where the fans should appreciate things like that, where they sort of maze us into like a global news reel. So I was happy with that, the way they done that.
Yeah, spot on, mate, absolutely spot on. Carl says, hello lads, luckily I remember us winning something, but it would be great to win something again. I'd also settle for 10th in a cup. I'd settle for 10th in a cup. Would you, mate?
Me? Yeah,
definitely.
No, I'd settle for a cup years ago and 10th. Yeah. Especially like where you look at Roberto Martinez, like he was getting to City, like it was terrible at the end. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying a back or anything, but when I think we come to 12th and we got to 2 semi-finals in that year.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was 2 semi-finals. You know what I mean?
It was a Carabao in the FA, wasn't it? United.
See, clubs will see it for money purposes, finishing places. Yeah. That's what clubs look at. There's no like, if you finish 8th to 6th, I think there's a fair bit amount of money difference. So that's what clubs look at. But the fan base, I think they've got to take into the consideration where if you go, forget like that little bit of money that you can sort of make from 8th to 6th. And if you go win an FA Cup or you go win a cup, that to me in football and world terms is a massive statement.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, players see that. Players take notice. Like the signing of James Rodriguez, that will be getting attention from a lot of players in dressing rooms who are looking at it thinking, oh, I don't really want to be at Barcelona, or you've seen the unrest there. They do look at Everton, they look at Everton and go, well, why can't I go there? Like, look what they're doing there, look who they're bringing in. You know, players like to see that like progression in a club and see where they're going.
That's all. Spot on, and you know, I said that myself. I can't remember if I said it on stream or just in conversation when the rumours come out about Wilfried Zaha the other day, and the rumour wasn't that Everton were interested, the rumour wasn't that Everton would bid, the rumour was that Wilfried Zaha wants to come to Everton, and I said, well, yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm sure there's a lot of players on the planet at the moment that want to sign for Everton Football Club because of exactly what you've just mentioned, the big signings, the pull that James Rodriguez brings in himself, the pull of Carlo Ancelotti. There'll be a lot of players that'll be turning heads thinking, actually, I wouldn't mind going to Goodison Park and doing it for Everton Football Club, which is only a positive thing, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at how City done it with the brought Robinho in, and I mean, I think that's been getting commented quite a lot. Yeah. I even tweeted about it. I think it was very similar as like a commercial standpoint of what they done with Robinho. Yeah. It put City on the global map, on the world stage of football. Yeah. So I think that's what Everton have done there, and if they can sort of do that, and put us on a front, and then even from next season they start getting these players in, where a lot of us on Twitter who analyse football and our Everton fans look at it and they do want like these 23-year-old youngsters, world superstars, who can beat world superstars. We're all after that, but you've got to sort of put a marker down where I do sort of agree now with what Ancelotti's tried to do, where he's just bringing in solid, world-class performing players. Maybe they are on the decline of their careers, but they've chosen Everton Football Club for a reason.
Spot on.
They're not here for a paycheck no more.
Spot on. And Ancelotti said, and we'll leave you with this one. There's a couple of live comments I want to mention. Somebody asked, hang on, let me just get it up because I don't want to seem arrogant or whatever the word is I'm looking for. Where am I? Gary asks where Tim Cahill is at the moment at the is he at the football club? He is involved media-wise in terms of being a pundit, but he's not officially employed by the football club. And Wemmy says we should always want to win. Mentality is key. You aren't going to win every game, but we want to win. We should want to win every game. Believe we can. Yeah, spot on. As I was saying, Carlo Ancelotti said something really, really important in his press conference yesterday with James Rodriguez, and he said that, you know, he was asked the question about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and, you know, if Everton would have signed Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, would we have still been interested in bringing Alan and Decore in? And he said, well, look, you know, these were the three priority players, meaning Alan, Decore and James, but it doesn't mean that they were the only players we were looking at, doesn't mean that the only players we were interested in. And he said something that was really telling, and I thought was fantastic, and he said, look, the key thing for me is that one of the first things I do is I phone the player up and I say, do you want to come to Everton? And if they say yes, then we work it out and we see if there's a possibility. If they're hesitant, or they say maybe, or they say I don't know, then you move on from that straight away. And that's, you know, that's a fantastic mentality to have, isn't it? Certainly when you look at the three players that have come in, Alan spoke so highly about Carlo Ancelotti, called him the professor, spoke about how he wanted to come to Everton for a long time. Abdoulaye Doucouré said that he told his agent to ignore anybody else because he wants to go to Everton. And James Rodriguez, obviously, listen, he wouldn't be at Everton Football Club without Carlo, would he? So it's that effect, and like you mentioned then, City had it with Robinho and it put them on the map. And it put them on the map. And Everton I've had that with James Rodriguez. You know, Everton estimate the figures are 400 million people seeing the James Rodriguez stuff across the last few days. Miami, New York, Colombia. It was massive, wasn't it? And that's exactly what we need, don't we, marketing wise? Yeah.
I mean, even if it doesn't work out with James Rodriguez, the club have done the right thing, have put us on the map. And listen, you throw so many darts at a dartboard, it'll stick. Yeah. So I think as well though, people have got to realise is with James Rodriguez, the only thing that'll stop James Rodriguez is his injuries. Yeah. There's still a brilliant football player there.
Yeah. definitely.
You know, he's hardly played the last 2 seasons, I think, because of injury, a few injuries. But he was frustrated. He left Real Madrid because he was frustrated with Zidane because he was fit at times and he weren't getting played.
Yeah.
So let's sort of get away from he's just here for a paycheck and he's on the decline. He's far from it. He's only 29. You can see him putting his Instagram pictures up. He's well fit enough to be here. And listen, when players like that come to clubs, you can sort of see in the demeanour how they're treating the club.
Yeah.
He come here and he's already looks ready and willing to prove something. Because don't get me wrong, he was meant to be this world superstar after that World Cup.
Yeah.
And it hadn't sort of worked out. But when you look at his season at Bayern Munich, he was absolutely brilliant.
Real Madrid, I think, 14 goals and 14 assists in 20
exactly.
or something under Carlo Ancelotti.
Exactly, and with the Bayern Munich, he was still brilliant. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've probably got one. If they can get him fit and firing, they've probably got one of the best footballers in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
Still in his prime.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think we've just got to appreciate what Ancelotti is bringing to this club.
Yeah, spot on. Couldn't agree more. We'll finish it up then before we finish it up, just cautious a little bit of time. Score prediction for the game ahead, obviously Tottenham on Sunday, first game of the season. What are you going for? If you had to go for one, don't need to explain it if you don't want to, but score prediction.
Me?
Yeah.
I'll stick. I know what. I'll stick to 1-1.
1-1.
I know we got to be all positive, but that's. I'm
realistic.
happy with 1-1.
Yeah, realistic and a good result as well.
1-1. I'll be.
A good result.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. 1-1, and we're out of there. We go again. Yeah. No, you've just got to. For me, you've just got to get on the board.
Yeah, spot
just
on.
Get on the board.
Spot on. I'll go for 2-1, just because I think very, very similar. Listen, I'd take out a 1-1 draw with a good performance. But I just think if we step up to them, yeah, I'm a bit optimistic. If we step up to them and they play like they did towards the back end of last season, I think we can win the game. Don't get me wrong, they could come and that could have been our opportunity to beat Spurs, and they might turn up on Sunday and be an awful lot better than the new signings have settled in, and obviously bringing Matt Doherty in as well. Good player. I think
with Tottenham as well, I think they will start their new players.
Yeah.
I think they will. That's what you've got to look at. Tottenham have, in their eyes, have improved, and they've made some good shrewd signings there. So we are going to a difficult team. Like, don't get me wrong, people are thinking, oh yeah, we can go and beat these, and yeah, we can, but these are going to be fighting for top 4 this year.
Yeah. Spot on.
So I think a draw, hit them early, get a draw, or even a 1-0. Can we be all over the moon with a 1-0?
Take that, 100%. Take that.
Beat dogs and take the 1-0. I'm happy with that.
Definitely. Alan in off Alan's arse in the last minute, and then he just flies himself into Son or something and just starts laughing in his face.
I hope Tom Davies scores the winner.
Imagine it. Iwobi crosses the ball, Sigurdsson nods it on, and Davies knocks it in.
I hope it's Iwobi's back and it's Tom Davies back at the same time and goes in.
What a mad situation that'd be. I don't think any of us would believe that, even if it happened. Jesus.
Heads would fall off on Twitter.
Heads would massively fall off, I tell you that. A lot of people going for 1-1, 2-1 in the comments. Wayne says 2-1 to the Mighty Blues. Gary says be brilliant to beat the Shite. It certainly will. Philip says 2-1 to us. Gary says 1-1 and Wayne says 3-1 to us. Tottenham aren't ready. Hopefully we'll finish it up there then. Listen, big thanks to Tom for joining us today. Really do appreciate it. You can find Tom's links in the description. Go and follow Insight Markets as well, where Tom is working. Absolutely fantastic group of people, and obviously fantastic insights into football as well. Follow Tom's Twitter. That is in the description down below. Big thanks for coming on, mate. Hopefully we'll get you on again soon in the next couple of weeks or so to talk more.
Yes, cheers, mate. Yeah, sounds all day. Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Anything to say before we finish up on the season or the game or anything else?
Yeah, up the softies.
There you go, up the toffee, short but absolutely sweet. Big thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed the live stream, please do hit the like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Really do appreciate all the support. 78 people again watching live. Listen, I really appreciate it. Big thanks to everybody in the live comments. Sorry we couldn't get involved with all of the live comments, but we got involved with as many as possible. Like I said, if you have enjoyed, please do hit the like button. I want to say one more thing before I go. The missus has started a Instagram page, like a pictures Instagram page, where she puts up, you know, really nice picturesque sort of pictures of recently we were in Corfu. I'm sure a lot of you know. There's a lot of pictures on there from there, and there'll be a lot more in the future. It's Make It Snappy X on Instagram, so if you could go and follow that, I mean a massive amount to both of us. I'll put it in the description as well after the stream, so it's easy to find. Big thanks for doing that if you do. Really do appreciate it. Big thanks to Tom once again for coming on. Massive thanks to everybody for watching. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Really do appreciate it. Yeah. Leave a like if you haven't.
Cheers, mate.
No worries at all. Leave a like if you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new. We'll be back obviously after the game, instant match reaction, player ratings, etc. And then of course we'll be live on Monday, 5:15 PM with the live game preview. I think we've got a Tottenham fan in. So he says, "OMG, these dumb Everton fans think they're gonna win."
Yeah. Starts Roy.
Yeah, that's it. Cheers, mate. Cheers. Big thanks.
Yeah, cheers.
Big thanks a lot. Well, we'll finish on a positive.
Everton,
go on.
Yeah, Everton. Just from that, Everton live rent free in a lot of clubs. So
that's it, mate. That's it. In a lot of clubs. A lot of clubs. When he says picturesque pictures, that's what you want. Nice picture. I couldn't think of what to say. Nice views and pictures and you know, really nice pictures. Get on it. I'll leave on a positive one then. When he says where are we? Let's get. Whammy says this is not new season talk. Forget last season. It's a new day, lads. It certainly is. Anyway, big thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.